call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Michael Johnson takes on Daniel Zellhuber this Saturday to kick off the main card of UFC 318. And this is a good fight. This is going to be a fun fight on the feet, I think. Makes sense that this is going to open up the main card. Both these guys are going to, throw leather on the feet. So I think this one's going to be exciting. Daniel Zellhuber, young guy, 26 years old, had a little bit of success in the UFC so far, coming off of a loss to Esteban Ribovic by split decision in what was a really fun back and forth fight on the Sphere card, and seeing if he can get back in the win column against a very crafty veteran in Michael Johnson, who's been in the UFC for a long time, has a lot of good wins, fought the who's who of 155 pounds. He's 39 years old, so getting up there in age, but looked good. He looked good in his last couple of fights. Did get knocked out by Diego Ferreira not too long ago, about 2 years ago, but Ferreira's really good. And Michael Johnson coming in off of a win over Darius Flowers and put Ahmed Azaitar out via right hook back in December. So I think this one's going to be really fun. Michael Johnson, like I said, he's 39, 5'10", with a 73.5-inch reach, so he's going to be significantly shorter than Zellhuber. Can't say his name. Daniel Zellhuber, who is 6'1", so he'll be 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage against Zellhuber. So I think that's going to be a pretty significant statistic heading into this one. But Michael Johnson, southpaw striker, very fast, tons of power. He's usually the faster guy in his fights. Has good kicks, a really snappy jab, throws the left hand to all levels, body, head, chest. Throws it to guys' chests very, very well to kind of keep them honest as they dip their heads and look to get in close. Stays busy with the fundamentals, body work, head, jab, kick, takedown, does everything very well. He's very well rounded and has a lot of finishing potential on the ground with his ground and pound and on the feet with his hands. And like I said, very experienced. He's got 30 fights in the UFC, been in there since 2010. Was on the Ultimate Fighter back in 2010, so this dude's been in there for 15 years, fighting anybody and everybody in the UFC. Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz, Beneil Dariush, Barboza, Khabib, Gaethje, Josh Emmett, Thiago Moises, Guida, Diego Ferreira. Like, this dude's fought everybody. He's got a lot of good wins as well. Knocked out Dustin Poirier, who's headlining the card. Almost got Justin Gaethje out of there in their fight. So very dangerous. Can't really sleep on the guy. Really good forward pressure style. He knows he's usually faster than guys, so he's putting the pace on guys. Not really afraid of people shooting takedowns on him because he's got really good takedown defense. I think it's like 81%. He did wrestle in college. Was like a junior college wrestler, Merrimack Community College, and he's a purple belt under Gilbert Burns, so no slouch on the ground. Usually uses his wrestling, not really a submission type of guy. Really uses it to get his ground and pound going or to get back up to the feet. And concerned about his chin, though, going into this one. He has been KO'd pretty badly a few times. Obviously the Ferreira fight that I just talked about, but he was knocked out by Josh Emmett very badly in that fight, knocked out by Justin Gaethje, so chin is a concern considering he's 39 years old heading into this fight. Daniel Zellhuber, like I said, 26 years old, 6'1", 77-inch reach, 15-2. Only losses coming to Trey Ogden and Esteban Ribovic, so I can excuse those losses. Those guys are very good. Trey Ogden's very underrated. His wins over Lucas Almeida, that's Lucas Almeida. He's all right. Lando Venata, Christos Giagos, Francisco Prado. Like, I respect that win, even though he is kind of small for the division. But he can be out-volumed and out-pointed in his fights. He is a very good striker, obviously very lengthy, uses his kicks, uses his range, good front teep kicks, active lead hand, good jab. And like I said, though, can just be kind of out-busied. Trey Ogden just got out front of him and didn't slow down that entire fight. And that's a concern in this one with me, just because Michael Johnson's that type of guy that can, get respect early and often. And I think that might be what happens in this one. Zellhuber, jiu-jitsu black belt. Don't see him using it very much. He does have the anaconda choke over Giagos, but a lot of his wins are by finish, by punches. But he does have a calf slice or triangle choke, a few submissions in here. But I don't know if he'll be able to get that against Michael Johnson, get him to the ground. Maybe if he hurts him and jumps on his neck or something. But I do foresee this fight taking place mostly on the feet, unless Michael Johnson can't get through the range and start shooting takedowns. But I am going to go with Michael Johnson in this one. You know, I think he's a pretty sizable underdog. But Esteban Ribovic was able to show in their fight, and this is the last fight with Zellhuber, that, you know, the smaller guy, the smaller fighter than Zellhuber, can have success being smaller and having less reach. And Ribovic is 5'10 with a 69-inch reach. Michael Johnson's 5'10 with a 73.5-inch reach. So he's going to have 4.5-inch reach advantage over Ribovic, who was tagging Zellhuber and having a lot of success. And I think Johnson's faster and hits harder than Esteban Ribovic. Zellhuber he hasn't convinced me that he's this hot prospect that the UFC wants him to be. He's tall, you know, he throws straight punches, he's good technically. I just don't think there's anything special to him. I don't think he has the most power. I think Michael Johnson's going to be faster. I think he's going to be more powerful. I think his shot's going to have a little bit more consequence. I think he's going to be keeping Zellhuber honest, you know, landing his calf kicks, punching to the chest, tagging him, just getting respect, you know, getting in quick, kind of nullifying that reach advantage by him, you know, his distance management, the way that he can close distance quickly, and just the snap and power and speed in his punches. He has so much more experience than Daniel Zellhuber, who he hasn't, you know, Zellhuber's resume can't hold a candle to Michael Johnson. There's nothing that Zellhuber does that Michael Johnson has never seen before. And like I said, Zellhuber got hurt in that last fight against Ribovic, the smaller guy, and I think somebody like Michael Johnson, who has a lot of finishing potential if he gets you hurt. I think if he gets Zellhuber in a position like that, he's not just going to be winging punches and kind of gas himself out. He's going to be strategic about it. He's going to pick his shots, and he would finish Zellhuber in that position. So I don't think Zellhuber has necessarily the power to hurt Michael Johnson. Again, like I said, concerned about his chin. But Zellhuber hasn't had a KO finish in the UFC. A lot of his KO finishes, the last KO finish he had was against a guy on the regional scene who was 0-0 going into that fight. Did have a knockout over a guy who was 12-3 before that, who's now 12-12. Talk about a fallout. So really, he's not finishing these top-tier guys. He's only finishing these guys on the regional scene, going to decisions with, you know, Lando Venata, Trey Ogden, Francisco Prado, Esteban Ribovic. I just don't feel like he has the finishing potential to really hurt or threaten somebody like Michael Johnson. And I think Michael Johnson's going to start out on the feet, getting a lot of respect, tagging him, hurting him, and maybe gets the KO in this one. Like I said, we did see him get hurt by a guy who I think doesn't hit as hard in Esteban Ribovic, so I think Michael Johnson can get the finish. If not, I think he can get the decision. But Daniel Zellhuber is a -575 favorite, which is pretty crazy against somebody like Michael Johnson, who, you know, can put your lights out at any second. Tons of UFC experience. I know he's getting up there. He's 39 years old. He's a +400 underdog. I just don't get that. I don't understand that. I think Michael Johnson has all the skills in the world to beat anybody on any given night, and I just don't think that Zellhuber is going to be able to have the success that the odds makers think he does. So I'm going to go with Michael Johnson. I think he can get it done by KO. If not, do enough damage, get enough control time to win rounds, and get the decision. Thanks.